Welcome to What Lies Ahead. I'm your host, Chris Raffini, lead singer of the Long Island band Overthrow. On my podcast, I explore everything related to the hardcore scene through the eyes of artists, promoters, and record labels. As always, please like or subscribe on all social media platforms. For more information and updates, check out our Instagram page at @WhatLiesAhead_podcast and find us on Facebook by searching What Lies Ahead. Now, on to the show. Today, I'm joined by John Mchale from Breakeven Bookings, a Miami staple that's been booking shows and building their scene for 23 years. Talk about his past, present, and future of Breakeven Bookings. John, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Psyched to have you on. And I've had a few promoters on here in the past, and it's just, I've booked a couple of shows back in the day here and there. I put a couple of things together now that are coming up with some people, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So I really like what you do and how you keep the hardcore scene moving is really amazing. So I love hearing the process of it. It almost feels like you never get the opportunity to kind of rest. It's just like you enjoy something you put together, but then it's like kind of on to the next in terms of shows you're putting together. So appreciate having you on here and going over your process in booking shows.
It's funny that you said it like that. I was telling somebody recently that a lot of times I can't enjoy a show until it's actually like ending or over.
Yeah, and I can imagine that, right? Like while it's going on, it's like the show's put together and there's 5 bands playing or whatever the case may be, but there's probably there's so much stuff going on that you can't really do that till I'm sure it's over, till like how you described, right?
Yeah, so some nights it's like fine and I'm pretty like immersed in it, but then some nights it's like it's not fun. Like the day is just like not fun.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
I'm like, oh wow. Yeah, I guess that was a cool show. Like usually when I'm like driving home.
Yeah, it hits you afterwards, right?
Yeah,
You're doing all that. Yeah, because
it's
there's a
like
lot of stuff. Yeah, there's a
you
lot
don't
of
get to,
stuff going on. And that's so like that was one of the things that I do want to ask, like how you go about booking shows. Is it's you obviously are booking, but do you have like at the shows, obviously at Churchill's and stuff like that, do you have a crew of people to help? Because you can't do everything, right? You can't be every, three to 5 places at once, you know what I mean?
yeah, I have people who like help me run shows. I have like a couple door people that kind of hold me down, and sound people that I use, and
Mhm.
I'm coming out of like being like pretty like entrenched with a venue. This place was called Gramps that
Yeah.
I've been doing shows at for like 10 years roughly. So like I had a whole system there, and it wasn't primarily like a hardcore venue, although I did lots of hardcore shows there. Like more than I even like realize. I tend to not think I do, but then I actually like look back and I'm, did some cool stuff there. We did like Crown of Thorns, You Did Today, Gorilla Biscuits, etc. Strife.
Great stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I had a whole system there where like everything was kind of streamlined. I mean, it was a lot of work because the venue was like super. It was like a very versatile venue, but also it was like kind of a living hell to run. But that spot fortunately closed, and subsequently a venue that I kind of cut my teeth at reopened, Churchill's, and I'm doing stuff there again. And then there's a couple other spots that are like popping up or reopening. So when one door closes, like 19 others open, I guess, or something. I guess that's never really happened to me in my life, so it's kind of weird. And also having to go back to booking at multiple venues is kind of a bit of a challenge. So
yeah, I can imagine that. So one of the things you said with grants, like back in the day, like you had like a structured system almost in place, right? So with Churchill's or like these other venues, do you take that structured system and try to incorporate it within these other venues, or like obviously every venue is different where you have to adjust with it, but you try to use that framework,
Yeah, I definitely try, but yeah, everything is different, and everything in Miami is different, wildly different. Each room is like has its own like personality and types of people who hang out at it. But booking shows at Churchill's was always kind of like, there's um it's a very wild, like just a wild atmosphere when you get there. Like, or if you get there early in the day and you see the people that were like day drinking there,
Mm-mm.
and then you're like setting up for a show, and I don't know, it's kind of like there's things that you have to navigate, just to kind of figure out. Each room has its own obstacles, like in itself. The crazy thing about Gramps was it was in like, I guess what is like, it was at the intersection of what was like the most, it was like at the heart of this like very busy like nightlife district. Um, so parking and all these things were kind of crazy. Um, Total nightmare, but got through it. You know, it was every big show was like a total fucking mission. Um, so there's like that, and then there's other venues where like, oh, there's parking, cool, great, like. But then there's this, so you're always kind of. I'm finding myself having to get back into like a routine of understanding how different venues operate, and the new venues that have popped up and doing stuff there, and just kind of taking what I learned over the years and just applying them to these new rooms. And luckily right now there's a lot of spots opening up that are like they're open to listening to me, whereas when I was a lot younger doing stuff, it was more kind of like no one really took me serious.
Right, because you're like you're not a kid, but you're younger, and now it's different. You approaching them with it. So that was actually there's a couple of different questions, but one of them I was thinking with this is so with Churchill's and some of the other venues, do you have your eye on these other places, and how do you go about approaching them, and to make it like the place where you're going to be going to for these shows that you have, right? Like, as Churchill's has, at the time, there's like you have Napalm Death coming through there with Dead Guy, there's Terror's coming through, or at this point when this comes out, so there's a lot of big acts coming through that's going to be packed. People are going to be going crazy, obviously, with it. So how does it go in connecting with these venues throughout this process?
um a lot of times it's like I'm feeling like a vibe. I think Churchill's is great for like a lot like hardcore metal, punk, but also like so is Las Rosas. Like there's um sometimes you kind of have to just narrow down like what's the where would the show fit best, like genuinely. And with Napalm Death, we actually had booked Napalm Death at Churchill's right before. Well, it would have been May of 2020, so it didn't happen because of COVID.
Right, COVID, yeah.
Um, and I remember back at that time, it was like thinking like, holy shit, we have Napalm Death playing Churchill's. It's kind of nuts because it's like, I mean, I guess it's like the equivalent of like them playing CBGBs, which is not like crazy, but it's not a big room. It's
Yeah, it's a smaller caps room
yeah.
at times. Yeah. Okay.
Um, it's definitely like a little bigger than CBGBs, I think, but yeah, it's just like, oh, they're these are the type of tours that play like these rock box rooms that can fit like 600, 700, 800 people, but then like you have a room like Churchill's where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, small room, buy your ticket. um
Yeah.
so I mean it's just like it's technically like it's an English pub, so you Napalm Death playing an English pub. um I was thinking like when like years ago I booked like Subhumans there, and I remember them telling me that like the place felt like like what they would play when they were younger, like the rooms that they would play with all those guys, and I always thought that was pretty cool.
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, the other spots, like I mean, every spot in Miami has so much character for the most part because Gramps was basically like a tropical garden with a tiki hut stage, but not like when I say like tiki hut stage, not like Jimmy Buffett cover band tiki hut stage. It was like just I don't know, it was like a tiki hut stage, but didn't look like funny. You know, it was like almost kind of psychedelic too. Had like a really like psychedelic backdrop.
Mhm.
It really was like a freakish environment. You know, where you could watch like Crowbar play, like, and be standing under like a banana tree with like a bushel of bananas hanging over your head. Is So Miami does have a lot of characters. You have a place like Churchill's that is like just very, very gritty, and then you have a place like Gramps that's like looks as you would think that what you would think Miami is like. You know, like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, this is crazy. I'm like I'm watching Strife play in a garden, essentially, on top of concrete slabs under a tiki hut. Okay, cool.
And I know what you're referring to. I've seen online, I've seen videos of shows at Gramps. So I know like what exactly you're referring to here. So it sounds like you have a lot of different venues. And is that just to help with options? Because you obviously you book shows, but you have a lot of promoters come through, agents calling you and contacting you, trying bands calling you to set up. Is having the different venues good for options for touring bands that come through, bands that might be, that are looking who are coming through and then looking to play. It kind of helps you with variety, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think now that there's, I mean, when I was just, I really was just focusing on Gramps for like the longest time because like, um, yeah, they just kind of gave me like, you know, the ability to do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but also like for years, the other options were kind of temporarily shuttered in like some weird Miami, super Miami, like there's some backstories about you know the couple of venues that were temporarily shuttered. That is very very Miami, but they're back and I guess somebody referred to it as the devil's bargain was losing Gramps,
Hmm.
which I thought was kind of funny. Um, but yeah, I mean, it does. It's cool to like, I guess, have variety. I was like that when I was younger. I was booking. I mean, I got my start booking shows in Miami, um, mostly at this like little DIY spot called the Alley.
Okay.
But I would book all over like Miami and Broward, which is like Fort Lauderdale, and even go as like far as West Palm Beach, um, which at the time like it's kind of like ridiculous because like I didn't drive and I don't know, like it's kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna go book a show like an hour and 10 minutes away, and hopefully people come out. Like got like three touring bands on the show and two locals. Let me go book a show in West Palm Beach, and like
Mhm.
then yeah, we'd all go up. I'd jump in with somebody, and then we'd run a show. Like
Okay.
I would kind of go like all over the place. Like it's kind of like nomadic, like whatever venues that would kind of take us. And it kind of led me like some funny areas and cities and in South Florida and really like ridiculous, really ridiculous, like just ridiculous rooms that I didn't know better at the time because I was like young and I just like figured you could have a show anywhere.
Mhm.
And I was
True.
like walking, like I would either drive around with a friend and we would just we'd walk into these businesses and be like, hey, can we do a show here? And more often than not, they were like, absolutely not. But every once in a while, we'd get like, yeah, sure. And then I'd do these shows. Bars would probably make no money. like, um, the staff was always very confused. Um, it's kind of like learning how to figure things out. Finding a PA, which was always like, I feel like that was always like my biggest struggle was finding someone to loan me a PA.
It's funny that comes up. I've had like a few people on here talk about that. And it's like such an obviously important thing. And it's like people, it's like, oh yeah, this is obviously needed
Yeah.
as part of a show. Yeah. Um, One of the things I wanted to ask with is, and I guess it could range, right? About how far ahead you book shows. So now I've noticed more than ever with my band coming back. You always used back in the day when we used to play in the 90s, you'd book ahead, but now it's like you book ahead. Like it's almost like we're looking into the winter, the fall of next year, this year coming up. Um, So for you as a promoter, um, how far ahead do you look to book to a show? Is there a timeline that's too far in terms of working with the venues? Or, there's a tour that's coming through in, like, let's say in like November of this year, and you're like, okay, let me work on the timeline of when they're coming through. Or it just ranges from show to show or what the tour is in terms of how far you book ahead.
Um, a lot of it, like right now, primarily, like I would say, like April and May are getting like kind of booked really quick. But also like some of the bigger tours are really starting to hit for the fall. And usually I find out that like international bands are the ones that hit you up like super. Like
Okay.
anytime I get hit for something like 10 months to a year down, it's usually a band that's like international.
Mhm.
Or but yeah, like we're starting to get hit for like August, September, October. Um, I think October, November, are like the busy months down here. That's when like everything passes through here.
Mhm.
The summers are kind of dead, which
Interesting.
which I feel like when I was younger, it was the complete opposite. Like in the summer, I was always booking like Tuesday night hardcore shows with like two two bands that were out of town, three bands that were out of town, and like whatever locals that would be willing to play.
Right.
Um, I
That's
feel like I feel like that's not like a thing as it used to be, which is kind of like weird, but I get it. Things are expensive.
yeah. Yeah, so you have shows, but um, it sounds like not as many maybe touring acts, I guess, coming through the area like through the summer. Maybe it's they feel it's too hot. I have no idea, but that is interesting that in the summer you're not getting that as much as you used to.
I think people avoid touring here in the summer. It's like, um, yeah, it honestly sucks. Like shows here in the summer suck, especially like July.
Mhm.
Shows are fine, but it's like miserable.
Right. So you're booking, but not, it doesn't sound as much, right? As much as you normally do. So how, the question to ask with the Miami scene, since you first started, how has it progressed or changed or developed since the time you first started 23 years ago?
I guess it's like that's actually it's a good question. Um, things are definitely like people are more like I feel like the crowd's more like there's less shenanigans, I guess, which is cool.
No.
Less well, there's a lot less like drama and stuff, which is cool. Um, I feel like there's a pretty solid built-in crowd now. Um, that'll come to shows, and I definitely think like things are a bit better in that aspect. Yeah, I don't know. I think nothing's really gotten worse.
Mhm.
Can only get better. I think.
Yeah. Well, it sounds and it's gotten really like obviously bigger too. You have a bunch of different venues. You have a lot of big shows coming up, that were announced. And that's the thing is terms of when you book shows, right? And let's do the Churchill show. Well, we can even look at the Terror show, the Napalm Death show. So obviously there's a package tour that comes through. When you're doing that, do you look to add, or it depends, local acts with the package of the tour that's coming through? Or it could depend upon if you have someone coming through on a tour, you will connect it with it. Or does it just all work itself out based on the timeline of it?
I do try to get like locals on when I can, but a lot of times I'm like they're it's just like the tour package.
Right.
Seems like there was like a bigger shift towards just like the tour packages not having local slots, but yeah, every so often they're like fine with it, you know.
Mhm.
Um, Terror shows sick because like the bands opening for Terror are two local bands, so Collateral and Barricade. Um, so that's cool.
Great. Yeah, that's great.
Normally I think it would be like one local, but yeah, it's a cool lineup. Um, and I think like with like mostly it's like metal shows that I kind of do there where they're like where they don't want like locals or something, or like maybe I should rephrase that. Not want locals, but it's like logistically they just want to keep it like the tour package. But
What that package is going through. Yeah.
hardcore is always down to have locals. Like
Yeah.
a lot of what I've been doing, um, like bands will be doing weekends, and I'll be able to do like two or three locals. Um, like when Youth of Today came through, I had like this old Miami band, Mchale NT, do a reunion. Then I had um two others open, Yield to None and Seed of Pain. Um, Seed of Pain is not from the area, but it was cool just doing stuff like that. Like the Gorilla Biscuits, we kind of did the same format. It was this old band Beyond Reason did a reunion. They were like a 1989, 1990, 91 Miami hardcore band. So they played their first show in like 31 years, I think.
Oh wow. And it like completely fit that show well.
Yeah, and then like these Accelerate played, who was a younger South Florida band. Collateral played, another young South Florida band that's making some making traction. They put out a 7-inch. Yeah, they're doing stuff. So it's kind of like at least I get to still like put locals on like the hardcore shows, but when it comes to like indie rock and metal, I kind of have a lot of times I'm like limited to just like the package.
The package, right? So it's like almost like there's a lane for certain genre of music that it goes with, and that based on the experience that you have.
Yeah, I think
Now,
hardcore welcomes like the bands in the area, whereas like
yeah, yeah.
a lot of the other genres are strictly business.
Like the way it goes, and you're like, okay, like that's how it goes. When did you start? Because you started with hardcore, right? Booking back
Yeah.
23 years ago. When did it just keep building to the point where it's like, you're a promoter now. You're basically doing it's still hardcore as the core of what you're doing, but obviously it's opened up to other genres of music. So when did that start? Just as you were doing it from back in the day?
Yeah, I would say that I owe a lot to but basically like yeah, I booked like the hardcore bands forever. And it's kind of shocking how busy I was like just as like a young person, like booking shows, going to school, whatever. That I would have like two or three, four shows a week just touring hardcore bands. But after like a couple of years, some of them went on to do like other bands, and um, then they would be like, "Hey, my band wants to play the area. Where can we play?" And that's kind of like where these bands weren't necessarily playing like hardcore anymore. Like one of the bands in particular is Fireworks, um, which was like a pop punk band, like a pop punk rock band. But they were all in hardcore bands, and some of them knew me from previous. They were one of them. The Wonder Years, same thing. I'd booked some of their previous hardcore bands. I think it was like really that wave of bands. Title Fight, like it was all kind of connected to hardcore, really. And then through those bands, I started booking those bands, and then the bands that were kind of like in the umbrella of those bands. And then it just kind of I kept going with it, really.
Yeah,
Um,
just keep running.
and I think like at that same time, there was like a new venue. I guess it was already a thing. It was kind of like an established. It was like it was already open a couple of years. And I'd done a couple. Um, I'd done like three shows there, and one of them was like kind of like a cartwheel into your friends type like gig
Mhm.
where people are kind of going like walls got broken, shit got
Uh,
like like, and the owner was like, "You can't come back Well, actually, he didn't say it like that. He said it very politely.
Mhm.
But um, and then a couple years later, I ended up like doing shows there again. Um, so that place was called the Talent Farm,
Mhm.
and it was in Pembroke Pines, which was like a suburb. Thinking in that like in that first run, there was 3 shows there. The venue was not like geared for that kind of stuff. It was really just kind of like, he was hoping to have more like high school pop punk style bands. Like his son played in a pop punk band, the owner, and
Mhm.
it was really geared for that. And then I think I booked CDC there, and like, yeah, you see a bunch of people with neck tattoos punching each other in the face, and his walls got broken. He was like, dude, yeah. But then, I did a Thieves and Assassins show there. That was another one. It was Long Island. So shout out Thieves and Assassins.
Yeah.
Um, so a couple years later, I ended up doing shows there again after he didn't notoriously did not want my shows, and
Okay.
it kind of coincided. Man, I just realized I really went off on a tangent there. But, it really like linked up with all these bands that were coming out at the time. Fireworks, Wonder Years, Title Fight, Tiger's Job, Balance and Composure.
Mhm.
And I started booking all of that there. And I was doing the hardcore shows like Trapped Under Ice, Cruel Hand, Backtrack.
Ah,
Who were basically anyone who's coming in at the time. I was booking so many hardcore shows, but then I was booking so many like indie rock, emo, pop punk shows, and I had like a day job working in a warehouse in like West Miami, just absolutely soul crushing. And then I'd get out of work and then I would go run a show until like 1 in the morning.
and you're running around. It's not like you're just sitting back watching and enjoying, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I was more like in the mix back then, like um, like piling on and stuff. And
Yeah.
but that's kind of like where I went from just booking hardcore to like, oh, I also book these kind of bands. And um I remember when I was like younger, I was like a little confused by kind of going because it was like I think I was just like, yeah, like I like hardcore, I like punk, I like metal. I had never really been big into like any softer stylings of like punk or like, so I was kind of felt like, but then as I started to book more of those bands, I started to get like really like enjoy them. And um it just kind of went from there. But it wasn't like, it took years, like literally like 6 7 years of just, you know it wasn't like something I was like, oh, I should try and do this, I should try and have range or something. It just kind of happened. Like
Right.
people who knew me
Organically
from
almost, right? Yeah.
hardcore people who knew me from hardcore wanted me to book their indie rock bands. It's kind of,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
then, but also as you get older, it's kind of like, like you book all these, like I book post punk bands and dark wave bands and even do some hip hop, like death metal. With hardcore, it's kind of like, like you kind of don't want to like, you kind of want like younger people to do things, you don't want to like stay in the way.
Right.
Like, I'm, I'm just kind of like, so I think like COVID was probably like, up until about COVID, I was still like very actively like I was booking, um, you know, bands that were like, selling out Gramps, indie bands that were playing like the Tonight Show, and punk bands that were selling out Churchill's. But I was also like running like a DIY venue um, in Liberty City called Space Mountain, which we were having bands like Akulu play, um, Bib, uh, The Flex, Arms Race. So it was kind of like, sometimes I guess it would be kind of confusing if you like, you know, it's like one night I'm booking Dead Meadow and then like switch on like, we're doing DIY hardcore tonight. And it's like,
Uh-huh.
it's, like, you know, PA was provided by my friend, like that type of deal. It's kind of, it's not like, for lack of better terms, like there was always like a, if you just see the moniker on the flyers, you're just like, you can't tell that like one's different than the other. Like it's the same moniker that's like booking like Mitski or Deicide, but then it's like, yeah, we have like a 3-band DIY hardcore show at a warehouse venue the size of a bedroom, and it's all friends. It's like,
Those are the best shows sometimes, too, sometimes.
yeah, like the drum rug is Anthony Burke's fucking Hyundai Elantra's car mat. Like, like the mic stands are all severely duct tape. But once COVID happened, it was kind of like, there was like a long enough time where coming out of COVID, I just felt like maybe I have to like, coming out of COVID, like things are different. Like I've been away from this for a while. There's like a whole newer people that are like getting into. So I think that was kind of like the big drop off with me, like from doing a lot of DIY stuff. Every now and then, like I'm able to, I guess it's all DIY. Maybe I shouldn't like word it like that, but to a degree, I guess I'm more in the, booking, like tour stops in Miami than I'm somebody who's booking shows in a warehouse.
Yeah, no, and you got a lot of that coming up, and you have a few venues or places that you book what you said. So, Mike, do you go to all the shows now, like now speaking, that you, or you at least try to, but do you get to every one of them that you're there from beginning to end in terms of load in to the end of the night? Um,
Yeah.
and if
Yeah.
you aren't, do you have other people like you? And it sounds like you did that you could maybe help run it if you can't be at everything all the time.
Yeah, I've missed probably like 7 shows ever,
Wow.
which I think
Over
is pretty.
23 years. That's
Yeah.
impressive. Wow. Yeah.
One was a wedding. One was like I was it's like Christmas. I was out of town one time.
Okay.
Like I
Uh-huh.
have a day job, and like I come from my day job. Sometimes I'm a bit late, but like I can have like the sound guy I can have somebody cover for like the things that like aren't there. So
Mhm.
but yeah, I have a pretty good track record of being at my shows.
I mean, clearly. I mean, that's yeah, that's because it's a tough thing to do, and there's a lot going on when you're doing that. So, did you ever get, and I don't know if overwhelms the right word, because you seem like, someone who's just pretty balanced with this, and I think you have to be in the right temperament in terms of doing this because you get stuff at all angles. But like, you get a lot of people reaching out to you clearly because if they want to come through Miami, they're going through so they're going through you. Do you feel like you're able to get back to everybody with stuff, or maybe something right off the bat you can't do for someone, but maybe I don't know, I'm just saying 6 months down the line you could work with someone to do it. Does that get like a little, I guess, overwhelming a little bit to the point because you sound like someone you're out there, you're trying to help everybody, but at the same time you got a certain amount of dates and a certain amount of timeline of when you can do things.
I'm definitely like, especially right now at this very moment, I'm definitely kind of struggling with staying on top of everything. I,
Hmm.
um, I just got caught up to most of my emails yesterday, 2 days ago, and it's yeah, I've there's just so much going on, and it just seems like it's email after email all the time. And at the end of the day, like this is like supposed to be like fun, like
Right, right.
um, and I think the confusion happens with me is that like I don't really look at it as like it's like a job. I mean, when you're like invested into something that like eats up most of your time, like I guess even more than like your day job, you have to like kind of treat it a certain way. Um, but so you get kind of like you feel like this, you're always on the clock, like you
Yeah.
always have to answer to something, and like some days you just want to like tune out, and I feel like I've been doing that a little too much, but
Mhm.
um,
Probably therapeutic, like needed though, because it's you look, it's almost like as the life of a promoter and just even how you're describing it, just it never really I mean, it sounds like the summer might be a little bit of an off season, but it doesn't matter. You're still booking into the into the fall. So it's just like you never really get like an off time, right? Really and a lot of it's the timing of when people are looking to come through.
Yeah, it's also like I haven't been on a vacation in like 4 years.
And it's needed, right, man? Yeah.
Yeah, and I've never really like looked at it like, oh, you need to go on a vacation, but like when you work like 65 to 80 hours a week, um, you kind of realize like you need to go get away and like unwind for a while. I think the last time I remember leaving, I guess it was 2020. No, yeah, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. I went to like the woods of North Georgia and just chilled out for a while, and it was. I think that really helped me, and I think I'm
Yeah,
about due for that.
like a chill spot to just hang, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think with like the closing of Grams and then jumping back into like all these new rooms coming back to Miami and just you know day to day shit, day job. I feel completely fucking cooked, and
Mhm.
um, but yeah, I'm terrible at like kind of communicating at the moment. I guess like
Mhm.
I've kind of turned the ship around, so maybe I'll run with that. But for the last several weeks, it's been not good.
Yeah, it's just been busy and people and like
Um, I've lost shows
uh,
because of like because of how yeah, I've lost shows because of how bad like I got at responding for a second, and
mhm.
but eventually you got to like kind of snap back out of it and like keep keep the train moving.
Right, because you have others coming through, right?
Yeah.
That you're working on, that you're looking to, both. So one way thing to ask is, what's keeping you motivated with this? Because just the sound, you do sound like you love it, and that's probably the reason why. But what's keeping you motivated after 23 years doing it?
Um, I guess I like there's a couple things like I do like watching the shows even if I'm like an anxious like stress ball throughout most of it. There's like a there's like a gratification out of like you know seeing the show and knowing that helped facilitate it, and also like people being stoked. Like I like seeing people being stoked, like even if it's doesn't necessarily have to be you know hardcore punk or metal. It could be a hip hop show or like a DJ thing. Like it's cool to see that, and kind of makes you feel like you're doing something positive. Like
Right.
I think music brings people together and helps people, and being able to you know bring bands and artists and you know from all over to Miami and South Florida. It's pretty it's pretty gratifying.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like it has to be. And like, do you still
Yeah.
get that? And I probably know the answer to this, but I figured I'd ask you. The like almost that, it's like you booked like you had Napalm Death Dead guy coming through. It's like that's still that excitement and rush that you'd have back in the day when like, okay, like wow, I got this awesome package coming through Churchill's right now. Like, do you still get that? Like it's just like that feeling in terms of when you book a big show.
Yeah, definitely. Like we just obviously like there's the Napalm Death Dead Guy show. Like I think Dead Guys, first time playing Miami in 30 years is pretty.
And
Um,
it's still on your watch, which is amazing, right? That's so cool. So
I could say I booked Dead Guy. Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
would have liked to have just seen Dead Guy, but not to say that I've booked Dead Guy and seen Dead Guy in Miami is pretty cool. You know,
Yeah.
um, there's I'm doing one of the record release shows for Poison the Well. It's like it's a hometown show.
Yeah, that'd be a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's already sold out. Um, it sold out pretty quick. So just doing stuff like that and people getting excited. Then there is like the unfortunate part is that some people didn't get tickets, and
Yeah.
I'm being hit up, and I don't like some. I don't know how to help them. So
Yeah, well, like right, like you can't give what you don't have there. It's like like such a tough problem. It is. And it's like you feel bad. You don't want that to happen to people, but it's actually at the same time, it's amazing that it did sell itself out. The show did.
yeah, they're doing 2 shows in South Florida. I just kept telling people to get to the one in Fort Lauderdale,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that one has sold out. So um, then we
That's
did
my
we did
next
a
question for a New York guy like me. How Miami, Fort Lauderdale? What's the distance with that?
oh it's stupid close. It's like probably going to New York City to like Westchester County. It's
Okay.
close.
Okay.
It's like it's depending where you are in Miami and where you're going to in Broward, Fort Lauderdale. It could be 10 or 12 miles, or it could be like 20, or it could be like 35.
Right.
So
Right. It
it's
depends on all that. Hmm.
but like I want to say like downtown Miami to like downtown Fort Lauderdale is like 20 miles, 21 miles, 22 miles.
Okay. Okay.
It's really not that far. It's just the amount of time it takes would probably be equivalent to like what I said, I think.
Give or take, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, one more question, and then I have a bunch of questions of like this or that kind of thing you choose from, and then you pick first thing that comes to mind. But what I would want to say to you is because you've been doing this a long time, um, what advice would you give someone who's looking to get into promoting like you are, like in terms of like the way you're doing it? You know what I mean? What advice would you give to that person, and then maybe even someone who's just looking to like here and there put shows together?
Um, well, just yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of things I would probably tell people. um, well, tie up all the furniture or hide it. Um, yeah, just I'd tell whoever is trying to get into this, like, do it because you like it, you enjoy it, like setting up shows, and whatever great comes after it, it's just a bonus. Like, I think, um, I think in every city there's like people who get into this because like they like the music and they want to like contribute to the scene. No matter whether it's hardcore, whether it's punk, whatever, they want to like contribute and be involved. And I think like as long as you do that and you enjoy what you're doing, you feel like you're building something. Like it's yeah, it's like I was saying, it's like a very gratifying knowing like you're creating something. Like I'm not like a musician, you know. Um, so I can't just like pick up a guitar and write like it just churn out a bunch of fucking demos like some of my other friends
Uh-huh.
did. Um, my way of contributing was setting up shows and getting bands to come here, doing a record label, um, and everything else kind of came along with it. But when you do this like because it's like you're being part of a community, like that's just you'll never get like bored of it or like even feel bitter. The bitterness might come later.
Uh-huh.
But in the timeline it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't change anything I did, so
Yeah.
I think just
Gotta
um
love it. That's what it sounds. Yeah, you have to love it because if you don't, it just sounds like you're not gonna go for it because there's a lot of different things. It's not just booking the shows. I remember this when I was a kid back then. I booked a show in Long Island and I was just dancing the whole time, like moshing, moving like and then there's stuff going out the door. And I was like, people will take care of it. You know what I mean? Like it's just being alert to every little thing. There's so many little things that go on, obviously, with the show.
I got my own show like pretty much shut down once. um
Did you? What was that? How did that happen?
I leapt off the stage, and like my friend's band was playing their last show, and I leapt off the stage. I fucking the soundboard was on the bar, and I fucking whacked the sound bar and like or the soundboard and sent
Oh,
it flying off the bar, and the bartender slash sound guy was like went like fucking berserk, and then it became like, he cut the music, and then him and some other like dude who looked like Chuck Norris like basically squatted up to like fight the whole show, and the show basically ended in like a giant fight between like the the owner of the club slash bartender and his like this guy who looked like Chuck Norris. Um, but
I'm envisioning like this club that's going on. I'm envisioning Chuck Norris, like good, like
yeah,
that's what I'm seeing right now at this. That's funny.
yeah, he had like the headband on too, like it,
Oh, okay.
yeah, he looked. And my friend actually called him Chuck Norris from the mic before like everything got cut. But it was, yeah, that was, to make matters worse, people were barfing over the whole show because um you know how young people are. Like
Uh-huh.
people were drinking like Gatorade with Epicac as like people getting pranked. Totally awful. But so there's people vomiting and fighting, and it's kind of a cursed story. I told us, but yeah, we got the show got like basically like forcefully ended, and um I think as like someone who books shows, you shouldn't be like jumping off the stage and shutting your own show down. But I mean, I don't know, it's hardcore. Who cares?
Exactly. Sometimes the song or the music, you're just feeling it, and that's what happens. I take it this place, you don't go back to this place anymore, right?
Well, he was actually like after like everything kind of chilled out. He was kind of cool, but
Mhm.
like I guess you kind of got to like that like old school way of like, yeah, we all fucking had a conflict, but whatever, it's all good.
Mhm.
Um, and he was ultimately okay with us at the end of the night, which is, I think there's a lot of, I guess in the 2000s, there's a lot of like instances like that where like the yeah, there's like the club versus the kids basically, and
Yeah, yeah, you're right though. There was that feeling of that. I remember that.
then down here it was almost always like everyone was all made up at the end of the show, and it was like, all right, man, we'll do this again next week.
Uh,
Like bouncers versus the kids, like club versus the kid. Like I don't know. I guess that's not, yeah, definitely a thing of its time, especially
yeah.
down here. But yeah, I was like that when I was younger. I didn't want to be watching a fucking door. I wanted to be watching the show,
Yeah,
and
you want to be part of the show back then. Yeah, of course,
I think my anxiety of doing the right thing has like forced me to be the guy that you know
Yeah.
fuck it, my place is over here behind the curtain, making sure everything flies. Like, you know,
And has it, also with it, is it that, I don't know if I'm asking it the right way, but almost that like things with, or just processes with venues have changed almost since back in that time, right? Like where obviously you're older now, more experienced, where I'm not saying you have to be alert back then. I'm not saying that at all, but because you had to be, you had to set stuff up. But there's a lot more protocol, I feel like, with venues now.
oh, definitely, definitely.
Mhm. That
The,
make that,
the
so
further the further as time goes on, there's more and more things you gotta work around.
yeah.
Like,
So now I have again, a bunch of questions. You'll see they'll be all, I'll ask you one thing and then I'll get into another. You'll be like, what is this? What is he talking about? But first thing that comes to mind, and if you want to elaborate, you can here. Um, what's the first show you booked?
shall I put? Um, man, uh, I know the first touring show I booked
Okay, which one's that?
is Holding On. Wait, no, it wasn't. Never mind. That was the second touring show I ever booked was Holding On, Modern Life is War, and In the Red. But the first one was Comeback Kid. The first time they came through Florida,
Not bad.
the '03. But
Where was that? Where'd you put that one? Yeah,
that in Miami.
yeah.
I did a Wear Fear and Weapons Meet show
Okay.
with some locals. And yeah, I can't really feel like there was a variation of like all hell breaks loose on our own protagonist. Um,
Pete's band. Yeah, good.
yeah, yeah, in those like early Target Nevada.
Mhm.
But there was a Where Sure and Weapons Meet show and until the end show. No, Where Sure and Weapons Meet. But I guess that Comeback Kid show is like I think like the clock really started for me like on that, you know, when I did that Comeback Kid show and that Holding On show. Um, because then it was like, okay, you're booking touring bands. Touring bands
Yeah, it's like
are here.
feels real. Not like it wasn't real before then, but it does when you have touring bands coming through, of course, right?
Yeah, like I guess because like like at the time, like people in bands were booking people in bands were booking like local shows, like
Yeah.
you don't need some guy to book local shows.
Mhm.
Like that's already being done at the skate park, at Club Q, wherever, whoever, whatever was like around, like um it was more to me about like getting bands I wanted to see down here that like may have not been getting booked by like other people doing stuff. And no,
Right.
no disrespect to them. I think the people who booked shows down here before me, they all did a great job. Like I got zero complaints, but there's a part of me that wanted to see bands that sounded like Floor Punch. They're like, at the time there was bands like Desperate Measures, and
Mhm.
I wanted to see those kind of bands in Florida, but they were really just those bands were not coming here. They would every now and then they would come to Daytona, but Florida for like faster hardcore and youth crew hardcore, old school sounding hardcore was just like it was like a no fly zone. Everyone thought we just liked metal,
Mhm.
which is true, but we do like hardcore. So I kind of made it like my mission to get just hardcore bands here.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Hardcore.
And it obviously happened, right? And worked, and it's still going strong. Your favorite venue to book a show, which you think you might have mentioned it in the beginning, I think, but I guess as to think about it now, what's your favorite venue to book a show or have booked the shows in the past?
Like Pat, so just of all time,
Yeah.
that's a crazy one because I don't even like to see a show in the time that I was doing. There's so many like great venues, but like so many like great eras, but like I don't know. I guess I kind of always burn a candle for like the Alley or like Club Q, um, or Churchill's in the 2000s and the 2010s too, honestly. But
Hmm.
there's so many great ones. The Talent Farm was like an epic spot for like 5 years of just like it was just like a true. It was a weird, unconventional venue. Okay, weird is a bit of a. It wasn't weird. It was just different. It was like very clean and not like used to like the grimy clubs, but like I think what the owner like allowed us all to do there, kind of we created like a really thriving like not just hardcore scene, but like for everything that kind of came out of that time. And I think things down here are still good because of those years. But if I had to pick one, I don't even know. Like I don't know, maybe just like a packed fucking Space Mountain show, like
Cool.
where
Uh,
everyone's just piled on top of each other, like fucking going crazy.
cool. What's your favorite show you booked last year? One that really stuck out to you?
Last year,
2025.
maybe Judge and Culture.
That's a good one.
That was like getting the book Culture was. I'd already booked Judge in 2017 at Churchill's, but I did Judge and Culture at Gramps, and just having the two um, on a lineup together.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Mhm.
Like Culture was on my. I've booked most of the classic South Florida hardcore bands, with the exception of like Strong Arm. Now that I've booked Culture,
Uh-huh.
Um, so that was a great show, but there was a lot of great shows last year. I just
That one sticks out, right?
my short term memory is so fried, like it
Mhm.
sucks. Like I think it's a byproduct of like just always working, you know.
Mhm. That one was a good one though. So let's go to your top 3 to 4 favorite albums of all time. And it could be different. It doesn't have to just be hardcore. If there's anything
Okay.
else that you found pretty influential to you.
I feel like Life Love Regret by Unbroken.
Hmm.
Self-titled by Vision of Disorder for sure.
Yeah.
Um, shit, I don't even know. I don't even know what the third would be. There's like I could say like a bunch of answers, like
Mhm.
I'll be good. Um, maybe Prison of Hope by Chokehold.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think like I think I listened to Content with Dying more, but a record kind of really was very instrumental for me.
Okay. Those are good ones.
Yeah, or maybe like 24 hour revenge therapy.
You know what's gonna happen too when you're done, you're like, oh yeah, there's that one and that one, like that happens sometimes, too
Yeah,
with
that's the two definites are like Unbroken, um,
the VOD.
and VOD for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
where the fuck would I be without VOD?
Mhm.
That's really
A band or artist you like that may surprise people.
um. Oh no, this should be easier. I like some funny stuff. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, um, but I'm drawing a blank. I really should be able to excel on this. Hmm. I don't know. I like a lot of like coffee shop music.
Mhm.
Like
Like different kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Yeah.
like a lot of the stuff I book. Is like vegan bakery music.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And you
Um,
like that stuff. Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
it,
Mhm.
that's another thing is like booking has led me to bands that I may have not ever checked out. You know,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I could imagine that has probably happened numerous times with you, right? Like stuff coming through your way and you listen, you're like, oh wow, like not even something you would have thought of listening to, right?
yeah, no, it's you kind of learn to just appreciate everything. I think I was like historically always very like closed minded. I mean, maybe that's not the right answer, but I just like hardcore and like any type of
Yeah.
like anything that was under the spectrum of punk. Basically, like it could be Discharge or it could be Dead Guy. Like it
Right.
didn't matter. Like to me, it was like this giant spectrum, and it had everything I needed. Because if you wanted something that sounded death metal, it's there. If you want something
Right.
punk,
Right. Right. All right,
but I
John, one more here. What did you listen to last? And not like walking into like CVS or something and music playing. Like what was the last thing you put on before you that you remember listening to?
jumped on this call. It was
Yeah.
this emo band called Camping in Alaska.
Okay.
That was on. That's what I was listening to on Spotify um before getting on the call.
Cool. You hit that really fast. It's funny sometimes when I ask that, some people
Yeah.
like it's like you forget what you listened to last. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, it was queued up.
So you
Yeah.
had it. You were good. Okay. John, thanks so much, man. It's an awesome conversation. I think you could still keep talking about with like everything you do. It's just and honestly, the fact that people get to, roll through Miami because of the stuff that you and you guys are doing is awesome. So it's great. Anything you want to end with before I sign us off?
I mean, I don't know, I appreciate you having me. Like, yeah, shout out South Florida hardcore always. Um, uh, shout out Long Island hardcore.
Yeah.
I've
A lot going on over here too. Same with you guys. Like, yeah, it's a lot. It's
Long
scene's
Long
thriving here.
Island's
Yeah. Hmm.
Long Island's very instrumental into me getting into hardcore, New York
At
hardcore.
VOD, right? Yeah.
VOD. Man, I used to when I first got when I first got like a computer in the mid late '90s. I used to go to that website that had the New York Hardcore website. That was
Oh yeah, that show that had all the shows.
all the
Yeah,
show listings and all the band listings. I was like an information junkie,
love that. In
and I
fact,
would
that
just
exactly. Yeah, that was a great site.
could read that website for hours as like a 13-year-old kid.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Learn about bands in New Jersey and New York.
Uh-huh.
But Long Island, I was very, very instrumental. So shout out Long Island, shout out New York. You know,
Awesome, man. John, thanks so much. Hang tight. Let me just sign us off, and then we'll chat up
thank
some
you,
more.
Chris.
Okay? Thank you for listening to the What Lies Ahead podcast, which is available on all streaming platforms. Go save the What Lies Ahead podcast playlist on Spotify that features all bands that were on the show. For more information on future episodes, you can go to my Instagram account, follow at What Lies Ahead _podcast, and on Facebook by searching What Lies Ahead. See you on the next episode.